All right, how's it going out there? I'm Mike Brightman with Brightman Designs, and we offer design, drafting, visualization, and workflow training services. Basically, everything that we do revolves around SketchUp Pro, layout, our Condoc tools, and Lumion. And so today what we're doing is a live webinar for Lumion 8.3 and LiveSync. So let me get this screen up here. So at Lumion.com, you can get your hands on the latest version of 8.3 with this LiveSync. And so basically the layout of these webinar events is I'm going to do a presentation and then definitely stick around and ask questions on the chat panel. So if you are asking questions, please head over to our brightmandesigns.com site, and below that embed you can type in your questions on the chat panel, and that's the one that I'm going to be looking at. So be sure to stick around and ask some questions after that. So well, LiveSync, what that is basically a connection, a live connection between SketchUp, your modeling program, and Lumion, your rendering program. So as you're building your SketchUp model and making these decisions, you're going to be able to see it now in Lumion in this rendered real-world context. So a much more polished view of your designs as you're going along and iterating. So this makes for much more productive internal design reviews. You know, you can set it up to be realistic and see all those shadows and reflections and everything happening. Or it could be that you're doing a client presentation and you want to kind of soften it up and use one of those watercolor effects. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to walk through not only installing the plugin, which is really easy in SketchUp, but then how to kind of get the screen set up for getting the most out of it. And then I'm going to offer up a few tips and tricks on how to best leverage LiveSync for Lumion. So SketchUp LiveSync for Lumion. So let's get going. First things first, let's hop over into SketchUp, and we're going to need to install this LiveSync extension. So if I go to Window, Extension Warehouse, I can then type into the search here. I'll type in Lumion and hit enter. And then we're going to go in here and you can see Lumion LiveSync for SketchUp. I'll click there and I'll click on install. All right, so what that's going to do is it downloads this. We're going to agree, say yes, downloads that plugin. It's successfully installed, and say okay. And we are good to go. So let's see, I don't have that toolbar up right now, but for any of these toolbars in SketchUp, I can right click and we should be able to go to our Lumion LiveSync. So if I right click on any toolbar in SketchUp, I can bring up all of my toolbars and choose that Lumion LiveSync. All right, so there it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up this Milwaukee Street renovation. This is a project I've been working on for the past year. It's a renovation here in Denver, and it's kind of a good example of like how you can use this LiveSync technology to see your model and your design in the real world and make those design decisions. So I'm going to go to File and open that SketchUp model. And let's see, to get our screen set up the way we want it, let's just take a look here. So this is our SketchUp design. You can see it's all set up using our Condoc standards. So we create our construction documents out of here. And then we are also creating all of our Lumion visualization. So it's kind of a cool multi-level design that kind of marches up as it goes down that main axis up to this rooftop patio. And then we also have this accessory dwelling unit in the back as well. All right, so let's get set up now in Lumion. So we'll hop over into Lumion, and I'm going to open up our template. You could start with a plain scene, or any one of these scenes can be worked back to any of the others. Really, it's just they're set up with like some mountains and some water and different grass types. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up our template. So I'll go to our Brightman Designs Resources, and under our Templates folder, I have this LS8, and I'll open that. And then usually, whenever I open something, I'm going to go ahead and save that as, and put it on my desktop temp. That way I'm not overwriting my template. And we'll call this 3655. All right. So if I go to my build mode, I think we're about ready, but see, here's something that's going on. Because we're doing a webinar, I only have one screen to share with you. So I'm going to have to split my screen. But keep in mind that for you, you might be in a client presentation and have your laptop set up, and it would be very easy to have your laptop screen showing your SketchUp model, and then on the big screen you would put up your Lumion window, and then you're going to sync those views. Same thing with if you have multiple monitors, you might have one screen showing SketchUp, another screen showing Lumion. So for what we're doing here today though, I'm going to need to kind of split these screens. So to do that, I'm going to drag my Lumion window to the right, let go, and then split it with my SketchUp window. Then in SketchUp, my default tray has this auto hide, so I can turn that on. And so I've got my Lumion LiveSync set up, and I've got my Lumion window. So one thing about our template too is that we do include all these different layers. So we have like buildings and site and entourage. So that's why I like to use that. All right, so let's hit play. And what this is going to do, it's going to bundle up that SketchUp model and all the materials, and it's going to dump it into Lumion at 0, 0, 0, right at that origin base point. Now, while that's thinking, let me just say this. Lumion is really, it's an awesome rendering program. I mean, it's really changed the way that we work. It's so fast, so easy. We got tons of tutorials to learn how to do this and do it well. So be sure to like the YouTube channel, subscribe to it. Check us out at brightmandesigns.com and sign up for our newsletter. That way you're always in touch and you always know, when we're doing these events and when we release our latest tips and tricks. So that's my plug while we're live syncing here. It takes just a moment to bundle this thing up and it's going to drop in there. So I'll pause for a moment. Okay, there it goes. So the first thing I'm going to do though in Lumion is back up here, and I like to move my models. So I'm just going to position this LiveSync model. I'm going to move it to 0, 5, 0. You don't have to do that, but I like to have my models lifted up above the ground plane so that my ground plane in SketchUp doesn't conflict with the ground plane in Lumion. So I choose 0, 5, 0. Sometimes you got to go higher for like hilly sites, but this one works at 0, 5, 0. All right, so right away I can click on Start Camera Synchronization. When I click that button, check that out. Now my SketchUp model is following right along with in Lumion. So I can kind of look around and get a much more polished view of my SketchUp model. All right. But we're going to go a little bit further than that. So we want our model to not just be this default import. We want to get the material set up. And check this out. If I go into Lumion and take a look at my glass here. So look at that. It's already set up because I used a SketchUp glass. And so now it recognizes that and it's already set up a glass material in Lumion. So then I would just go around here and I would texture this model exactly the same way. Turn on my grass like that, and you go around and you add all of your textures. Now, I will say this, I do have a material set already set up for this model. So if I click on this glass and go to this, this menu dialog and go to material set, load. I'm going to load that material set, and I have that in my projects under 3655, and this is in our demo. So here's our material set. Now, let me explain what a material set is. So basically, when I add materials in SketchUp, I'm adding the brick and the siding and the grass. Well, then it comes into Lumion, and then I have to kind of path those materials. I have to say, the grass is Lumion grass, the glass is Lumion glass. Well, once I do that one time, I can save all those. So a material set is a great way to kind of distribute work amongst a team. That way, one person can be texturing, and they can get all the texture set up and then save that material set and then say, hey, in the main model, load that material set. We're good to go. Another way you can really gain efficiency using material sets is, if you have standard materials that you use every single time, like I'm always using asphalt and concrete and glass and grass and water, get all those set up so that you don't have to do that every time. Even those first 10 materials that you use all the time, just load those up. So those are two ways you can use material sets to really gain some efficiency. So I'll choose open, and we'll say OK, and we're good to go. So now at least we have some good materials all lined up, and I'm going to save those materials. You got to click on that checkbox there, and we're good to go there. So now what we want to do is kind of orbit around, and if we're going to be designing in the context of the real world here, we want to add some trees. All right, so then I would go in Lumion, I go to my objects, and on place mode, I would click on the nature collection and then check it out. If you're not familiar with Lumion, there's several thousand landscape objects. I mean, objects in general, a ton of those objects are landscape objects. And so as I go through here, we have a lot of different selections. I can even type in like oak into the filter, and let's choose one that's not too big, and then I'll just click to place those. And so, those are all pre-animated, they're blowing in the breeze, ready to be rendered. All right, so this way, you don't have to have those 2D cutout trees in SketchUp. Now we can look at our design with these nice Lumion trees. But I want to give you another tip, and this is the merge models function. So I've already set up all of these objects in Lumion, and so I created an extra file where I can merge all of these objects in here. Now, another way to distribute work amongst a team is to have one person import this model and start adding all the plants and trees, and then delete that model import and save it as a file called like 3655 objects. Well, then you're going to merge those with the main model. So that way one person can be texturing, one person can be adding objects, and maybe the other person is setting up the views and adding effects. So it's easy to distribute that work amongst a team. So let me show you how that one works. I'll go to Files and click on Load Scene, and then I'll click on Merge Scene. And we're going to bring in our objects here from that 3655 folder, choose Open, and then we're going to remove those models, and it looks good. So we'll say OK. Cool. All right, so now we've got all of our trees and objects placed, and let's just kind of orbit around in SketchUp and take a look. So you can imagine, if I was had a presentation going on, it's kind of a nice view. So a little bit more polished than SketchUp. Okay, but now in Lumion 8, so this was new when Lumion 8 came out, are styles. And so a function that, or a feature that I didn't use a ton was build with effects, which is really helpful for texturing, because then you can see how your textures are going to behave with all of your effects. But build with effects is also really nice for what we're doing here with LiveSync. So let's do that. Let's hop into our photo mode, and I'm going to click on a custom style. These are brand new in Lumion 8, and let's just choose a realistic style. I'll click there, and let's see, I'll click Build with Effects. Now, when I orbit around, kind of zoom in, we can kind of see a better view of this project. But let me go back. I'm going to go back and I'm going to set my focal length, because the focal lengths are a little bit different between the two programs. So I'm going to choose, let's back this up and say like 25, and then go to Build with Effects. So that's a little bit better. So sometimes that focal length kind of needs to be adjusted. All right, so I can kind of look around here. And I think we're in good shape there. So let's, at this point, let's look at, on the front of the building, let's talk about how we can make some real-time design decisions in SketchUp while we're looking at this LiveSync view in Lumion. So now I can go over here and I can say all right, well maybe I want let's try and extend this roof. So I'll just go in here and use my push-pull tool. I'll pull it out by 3 feet, like that. And you can see that LiveSync happens. And then see how it's going straight out? I don't know that I really like that. So I'm going to move this straight up on the blue axis and then match it, use my inferences over here so it's constrained on that line intersect plane. And so now, that looks good. So those changes are happening in real time. So let's check out another design decision here. So maybe if I go in here and I'm going to scale this window. This is actually a dynamic component. So as I scale this window down, let's say 0.5, and I hit enter. See, it distorted and then it rebuilt itself. and you can see how that's showing up in Lumion as well. So it is just this kind of very real-time view of your SketchUp model as you're designing. So 0.5, maybe make a copy like that. All right, looks good. Cool. So that's making a few design changes there. One other point that I think I would want to make is, we're talking about making these real-time design decisions, but what about for these client presentations? So another style that came out really nice in Lumion 8 is the watercolor effect. So let me go back here, and I'll say, okay, click on my change style here, and then let's go to watercolor, just like that, and then click on build with effects. All right, so now as I orbit around, you can see we've got all of these effects going on, just a softer way to show your SketchUp model. And again, imagine a client presentation where where I'm showing SketchUp models on my screen, but this is on the big screen. So kind of a nice way to soften up a computer model, or maybe even a design that isn't quite complete. This kind of makes it, fills in the blanks, but looks good on this one too when it's complete. So that is LiveSync for Lumion 8.3. One of our quicker demos that we've done, but so I think you'll see though that really LiveSync is going to help you to really understand your design and the effects of light on your design and reflections and all those things that you can really study in Lumion. You can now do that in real time without having to reload. So definitely check out Lumion.com. That's where you can download or purchase Lumion. Look for your Getting Started with Lumion email, and that's where you can download 8.3. So 8.3 is a free upgrade for all existing Lumion 8 licenses. And then that plugin, it's on the extension warehouse, totally free, and get to syncing. So again, my name's Mike Brightman, company's Brightman Designs, and we do offer design, drafting, visualization, and workflow training services. And check us out at brightmandesigns.com and sign up for those newsletters, and we'll always be in touch. And appreciate you watching today. And at this point, I'm going to hop over to the chat panel on our Brightman Designs events page. And anyway, so thanks for watching. If you're signing off, we'll catch you in the next one. But if you stick around, I'm going to answer some questions. So let's check it out. All right. Brightman doesn't do Revit. I think that's an accurate statement. I've goofed around with it, but yeah, that's not my thing. Let's see. All right, so let's see. We've got a really good question here from PlanMan 3D about the 3D connection. And this was the first thing I asked too. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the 3D mouse, but I know that a lot of people are. And I think it would probably... I didn't test it, but I think but the official answer is no, it doesn't work right. But it might scoot you around in SketchUp. But as soon as you go to Lumion, I suspect that it's going to spin you right back into that, the death spin. So you could plug it in and give it a shot. So anyway, that's a good question. That was one of the first things I thought about there, is maybe this kind of solves that. The Brockman confirms it does the 3D spiral of death. Bummer. Yeah, waiting for the same idea for 3ds Max, huh? Well, but it's Lumion's just so snappy. I think that's what really makes this possible. It renders so fast. So we got another question here from Mindy, is what kind of hardware am I running? And so I have a GTX 980 Ti, and so that's really doing everything that everything I throw at it, it renders it really fast, works really well. You can see that in Lumion. If I go over here, you can see here that we are like completely out. Everything looks good. 980 Ti. You can always rerun your benchmark if you tip and perform. This is a really solid blog post that's set up. There's a new one here. So check out the Lumion blog. I know there's a brand new blog post that is all about Lumion computer advice for faster 3D rendering. And yeah, this one, it's a nice long blog post that has all kinds of resources and links, and really explains how to best choose a graphics card. You know, and in short, go to videocardbenchmark.net, go to your high-end video cards, and I always just look at the very top and find a GTX card that's not going to break the bank. And really the 980 Ti, if you can get your hands on it, it's $1,000. But if you just keep working down the list here, you know, this is going to be really good for $600. So that's how I choose them. All right, so let's see. Did I miss any early questions? Let's see. So, yeah, what's your opinion of the Unreal Engine entering this product stream? I mean, you know, I like to look around at when we go to these different trade shows and check out all the different new technology, and we see Unreal and a lot of products using that. But you know, I think that Lumion's really got the secret sauce. You know, it's just whatever they've done, they do seem to render like extremely fast, and I don't know, it's just it's different. So I think that it's cool that they're entering it, and you know, competition's never a bad thing, and I think that Unreal is a really cool product too. But the simple, easy to use interface in Lumion is really, you know, it's designed for architects. It's designed for designers. That's the point. And Unreal Engine, I think, is maybe more for others, you know, who really want to dig in on all those settings. Where I think that designers want to dig in on design, make a pretty picture, sell their idea, and then move on to the next project. So, all right, good question from Walter as well. So what happens when you exit the programs? Do you have to resync? Do you have to reapply the materials? And so the answer is no. When you open up SketchUp and you've opened that file, and then you have that model in Lumion, you just turn it back on and it hooks it back up. So that's a pretty handy functionality, is that it picks up where you left off. Yeah, so that's pretty nice. All right, so why is there no interest in the connection between Revit and Lumion? Yeah, okay, so maybe that's where, Brightman doesn't do Revit. That's it. So, but yeah, there is a LiveSync for Revit as well. So if you use Revit, definitely the same functionality really is, you know, you can move around in your Revit model. And I might even make the argument that the SketchUp looks pretty good. Like when I'm looking at this, you know, I can see my design in 3D, but I do like the fact that I get a much more polished version of that over here. But with Revit, you know, you're like drafting construction documents, and your model doesn't look that good. It's kind of that parallel projection look, and so anyway, maybe it's even more valuable in Revit. But I don't work with Revit, but it's available. All right. Yeah, and so as far as additional LiveSync in the future with other modeling softwares like ArchiCAD, I mean, you know, I'm sure that those decisions are just based on the popularity of a product, and I know ArchiCAD's pretty popular. So I can't speak to that for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised. So. Let's see. Yeah. So, question about virtual reality and Lumion. So, yeah, really, what I would say about our virtual reality solutions, we can create these panoramas. So, 360 like virtual tours, and then they're stereoscopic and very 3D. So those are really good for. I use them in the Google Cardboard. I think it looks really cool in there, but also works on the Gear VR and Oculus. So, all right. So just reading through these. So Alberto, I use groups and components in SketchUp, and I mirror a lot. Yeah, why is it that I have to explode all of my model in SketchUp before importing to Lumion, so you can see your materials correctly? You know, that one I can't speak to for sure. I've seen that before. I had, like, several years ago, I had a townhome project, and I was component and flipping and mirroring and just going nuts on it. And I did see some things goofing up, but honestly, I haven't seen that lately. So one thing with materials is, let's do this. Let me fire up a new SketchUp window. So basically, a good rule of thumb in SketchUp is that, if I were to make a cube here, I'll make it like, say, 10 feet by 10 feet, and I'm going to pull it up by 10 feet, like that. All right, so like if I want to paint this with a material, then let's say I paint it with aluminum. All right, so the best way to apply materials in SketchUp is to paint them directly on this surface. All right, now what happens with groups and components? If I take this and make it into a group, well, what can happen is if I paint the outside of this container, if I paint this group, I'll use this material. See how it painted everything? So really anything with that default material just took on the material applied to the parent, the outside of the container. So I think I've seen things goof up with that. So what I would suggest is going into your entity info, selecting your groups and your components, make sure that you haven't assigned any material to them. So bring it back to default, and then always make sure that you double click into your group or component, and then you're going to paint directly onto these surfaces. So that way you get the most predictable behavior out of SketchUp, out of Lumion. And then if that doesn't help, it's like explode. That seems, sometimes I've been in a pinch and it's like, let me just archive this model, explode it, render it, and figure it out later. But I haven't seen that issue in quite some time. So, all right, mirroring an object in Lumion. I don't think so, and I've never had to do that because I would always mirror. I build all my geometry in SketchUp, of course. That's where you're going to build everything, and that's where I do my mirroring. If I needed to mirror something in Lumion, I don't know. I mean, there is a scale command. Let's just look for it. Let's see. If I select this and go to size object, my size object here, it doesn't go to -1. Let's try double clicking and hit -1. I don't know. Did that do anything? It didn't. So, anyways, I don't think that you really would need to mirror things so much in Lumion, but if you have a specific reason for doing that, let me know. Maybe I've got a workaround for you. I suppose a better example of that would be like my my model itself, but yeah, I don't think that we're mirroring at all. Let's see. Go back over here. All right, let me translate this. I'm gonna Google, and let's see if we can just translate. I'm curious. And we'll go over here and copy and paste. Thank you in Turkish. Fantastic. You're welcome. So thanks for coming in. Yeah, for sure. So, and Alex, I think I've owed you a phone call back, so I do apologize about that. But yeah, shoot me if you go to our contact page. You can get in touch with us there, or maybe we could set up a call for this afternoon. So we've just been scrambling a bit lately, moving offices. And a connection between Rhino and Lumion. Let's see. That, I mean, is another possibility, but I can't speak to that functionality being in the product pipeline or plan. But I wouldn't be surprised, if those things are coming down the ways. But I don't really speak to any of that stuff. So, Brittany Bruns, hey, glad to hear you're loving it. So we got to catch up. I'm curious how things are going over there. Let's see. Any tips on making the watercolor or sketch effects look decent in video? I don't have any tips off the top of my head still looks like looking through a dirty window. I don't know. Let me just look at it. I don't think I have any tips on that one, but if I go and make a let's just set up an animation here, and so I'll just do like let's get like that snapshot there, and maybe here and here. All right, so that'll be my animation, and I'll say okay, and then we're gonna add a custom style to this, and that's gonna be watercolor. All right, so I see what you mean. Okay, yeah. That fade effect is on my whole clip, so let's just kill that. I don't know. I mean, I don't dislike what I'm seeing. Let's see if I click here. Maybe it's. I'll bet you it's in the pastel sketch, and maybe goof around with these. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not getting the dirty window effect, but. I would say just look at your effect stacks and don't hesitate to just bend them, break them, mess them up, slide things around, try different effects like layered on top of each other. Makes for different results. So yeah, give it a shot. All right, and so bringing VR to cardboard or Gear VR. So for that, what do we use? I think we use Iris right now. Iris VR, and then they have a product called Scope, and I think that's what we're using. Let's see, products, and they have one called Scope. And yeah, so they give us a little shout out on their website too. So this seems to be a good product. I mean, it's a third party. What they do is they'll manage your virtual reality presentations for you. So you can render it out of Lumion, upload it in Scope. You can have it on your phone, plug it into the Gear VR, put it in the Google Cardboard. It does work really well. Very cool, very 3D. So anyway, check those guys out. I think they have a trial. So. All right, so Kevin Pfeiffer has a question about kind of SketchUp in general, and bringing AutoCAD into SketchUp. And I gotta tell you, when I import CAD into SketchUp, question being, importing the CAD into SketchUp and have the surfaces easily made into faces without line work going nuts. Well, there's a couple of extensions you can run. So one, you import the CAD, and then I would run delete short lines, extend close lines. I think there's a TomTom, I think, has a CAD cleanup script. And I haven't used it in a while because usually I just draw over CAD. I don't use that line work. I'm going to say CAD cleanup in SketchUp. And I know that there's some on Smustard that are good. Yeah, cleanup is the one. I think that's TomTom. Let's see. Yep. So cleanup is a good one. It cleans up and optimizes your SketchUp model, and I'm pretty sure it works with a lot of CAD line work. But what I do though is, like, if I import CAD into SketchUp, I would just go File, Import, and let's import. Do we have a project with some CAD right now? I think there's an office I was looking at that I haven't even checked out. Let's see, Brightman Designs. Oh, I can't even think of good CAD to bring in right now. Well, so what I would do, I'm going to open another file. We'll go to our Condoc Tools resources. So we've got a model in here that's new construction 2018. So this is a pretty cool model. And I'll just show you like how I set up my CAD. So this one, it's already imported. And so if I go to all off, and then let's turn, so that what that does is it turns all my layers off, And do that, update that. All right, so let's turn on like level 1, and then our background should have our CAD on it. Yeah. All right, so like this is my CAD import. And so when I import this into SketchUp, I put it onto a, you can see that this is on level 1 and then background. I might even consider locking it. That way that CAD background can't be moved. Now, what you were asking about is how to clean up this CAD line work, make faces essentially. So, one script that does that is, it's called Make Faces. So, let me just select all and go to Tools. I don't think I have it installed, but it's called Make Faces, and it'll just kind of like, add surfaces and all that. But the truth is, I don't work like that. I don't like to work off of other people's CAD. I would import it like this, and then maybe I would lock it, so my CAD is locked in place. And then what I would do is I would use my rectangle tool to draw over my CAD, pull this up by like 10 feet, and I would extrude my plan horizontally. So that way, I know everything is perfectly on axis, and I can always check that using my axis check here. So what happens is, I don't know, I've been burned too many times by other people's CAD line work, where it's just a little off and a little out of whack, and then I've extruded it, and now my SketchUp model is a total mess. I think that this method is faster. You actually get your hands on the design, so you understand it more, and then and it's more accurate. I mean, that way it's built perfectly. So cool. All right, so man, we got lots of good questions here. Filling in this time. So so if you're using a 1080 Ti and your renderings are still taking a lot of time, my guess, I always say leverage technique over hardware. I've got a 980 Ti, and it pretty much blows through anything I throw at it. But if I were to, have like this massive SketchUp model where I'm rendering the outside, but I model like every couch and every chair, that's going to be a lot of surfaces to ask my card to render. So, be aware, like build a lightweight model. Be aware of, if you're using SketchUp, how many surfaces you have in your curves. Be careful about where you're getting your components. Like Form Fonts, they make beautiful, perfectly modeled SketchUp components. So formfonts.com, those guys, that's where we get all of our furniture and entourage and all that stuff. Not from the 3D warehouse. And you also want to be aware of texture sizes. I mean, do you have like these massive TIFF files that you're throwing at it? And then in Lumion, if you're turning on like global illumination and you've got every single light turned on, and you've got these like massive effects, and the skylight I think chugs a little bit, and then I don't know, there's a handful of effects that just high quality shadows, and so all those things, if they're all dialed up, which sometimes you want it to be dialed up, that's all gonna make a difference on your render time. So just be aware of all those things. So but yeah, 1080 Ti, I mean, that's top of the line, man. That should be doing what you want it to do. So let's see. So, and Alex says, was not able to rotate the object in Lumion not parallel to the ground. Rotating objects in Lumion, I mean, there's sliders for different, if I look at some objects here, like build mode, I don't know, maybe you're not allowed to rotate trees, like off plane, I'm not sure. I haven't ever tried to. So if I go to move mode, and I'll go to rotate, like what I would do is just select something, and let's see, move mode. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I haven't done this in a while. Place mode, rotate. So you can rotate like this, and you might have stumped me on this one. Like that functionality that I'm used to is not there. So if I rotate like this, it's probably like a keyboard shortcut to get it off axis. Let me go over here. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Let me deselect, select that object, go to move mode, and on rotate. See, I'm used to those sliders showing up, and I might either be spacing it or I'd have to goof around with it. But of course, you stumped me on a live event, but that's okay. I'll have to look at that some other time. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe they've changed that in the interface. So, using georeferencing in Sketchup so that the model can be used for the accurate sun study. So how do I make sure that Lumion follows the same? So that's a good question. Let's look at, in Sketchup, if I go to File, Geolocation, you can see, Window, Model Info. And then under Geolocation, I can see that, this is located in Denver. And whenever you geolocate something, you can see my site around here. The green arrow is north. Let's see, usually north. Let me make sure I don't have to reset. Yeah. Green arrow is north and west is over here. So looking out the back at the mountains. And so that's just one tip, all right? And then so when you geolocate though, let's get our menu here, our shadows. We can turn on our shadows and we can see these accurate you can see these accurate shadows. I don't like them to cast on the ground though. All right, so then when I go to different times of day, we get like an accurate reading. Now, the LiveSync from SketchUp to Lumion, it's not set up right now to have those shadows translate. I put in a feature request for that. Maybe you guys do too if you think that's important. But anyways, it would be cool functionality, but you can still do that in Lumion. So if I go over here into our photo studio, and let's see, we'll just do realistic, and then I'm going to add another effect, and that's going to be our sun study effect. So when I add the sun study, I need to hit edit, and then I can choose, I just click to add a point. And so really, I guess, Denver's kind of right there, is my guess. And I'll say okay. And so then I can go to our hour. Yeah. So now we should be seeing, so you can see there's 24 different hours. And so now as I move around, we have some, an accurate sun study. So it is possible in Lumion to get the sun and the shadows set up. And I don't use this one a lot, but one thing I do know about SketchUp is that it does not account for daylight savings time. So make sure that you are using just the standard time because that's what'll come through. So, all right, and nice. Yeah, so Alexi, no plugin like this for ArchiCAD, but maybe throw throw your vote into the feature request, and the guys will maybe take a good look at it. So, yeah, and Elena, I like Lumion too. So, all right, and then Sean, how can I cut a vertical section? Well, there's, in SketchUp, that's pretty easy. So there's the section tool in SketchUp, which I don't think translates in our LiveSync. So we'll just place that and like that. And let me turn those off. And so then let's just take a look and see if our LiveSync is still kicking here on build mode. All right, yeah, so our section cuts don't translate over. So that's not going to happen in SketchUp, but that'd be a cool feature too. I'm going to throw that one in the feature request. But in Lumion, there is an object, I think. So I'm going to go to place mode, and I'm going to go to lights and utilities. And under utilities, I do have a clip plane. So I can add a clip plane in here. And so now we're going to get back to rotating. Let's see. Yeah, maybe the trees just can't be rotated off axis. This is what I was looking for. All right, so then I can add a clip plane like this. All right, and then I'm going to just spin it like that. And so we'll go to 0, and then I'll use my move tool, and I can move that. So you can cut a section in Lumion like that. Yeah. And then I suppose what you would do is you would add that to a layer. And my guess is that if that was on a layer in build mode, so like this guy here, if I go and add a layer, and I'm going to call layer 12, we're going to call that our section plane. Like that. And then I'm going to move this object to that section plane. And then if I turn the section plane off, there. No. So it's not controlled by layers. Section plane, move selection inside layer. Yeah. Oh well. So anyway, you can add a section plane, but you don't have a whole lot of control over it. So, but that's how I'd cut a section in Lumion. But if you want to do like kind of a cool like peel away view, I'd probably save my model as make a copy of it. And I'd probably just like slice that model using like, there's a plugin called Zorro in SketchUp where you can just like chop a line right down the whole thing. And maybe just like actually model the section cut that you want and then render it. It wouldn't take long to do that. You wouldn't have like a live link to it, but that could be a cool way to get that effect. So I probably wouldn't use that clip plane feature in Lumion. Let's see. Yeah, so Mona asked, is there a student license? And absolutely, there is a free student license. So let's see, where's that at? I think if you go to Lumion and then on their homepage, probably, it's probably something along the lines of like, try Lumion. I don't know, say you're a student somewhere. I think it's like, /edu or gosh, I forget where that is. But anyway, you can get on Lumion's website and you should, be able to find that pretty quick. Beautiful renders, view showcase. So yeah, totally, that was a new upgrade. I think that was in version, I forget now if it was version 8, where we got a really, really good student version. The previous student versions were rather limited. This one has a very unobtrusive watermark, and you have, I forget all the different specs, but you have all the features you need, all the entourage, and we've gotten some really positive feedback from students. So definitely check that out. And that's only for the US though, I will say that. Let's see, where are we at? Yeah, Kevin. So yeah, it's definitely that's the technique to use. Alex asking about Enscape, and so yeah, Enscape's a cool product, but we really wouldn't cover that on our Lumion webinar. But it's worth checking out. They do good real-time views, and I think Lumion's strong suit is the more polished. Now we have the real-time, but we also have very polished final renderings, and that's where Lumion really excels. Let's see. How to give motion to a car in Lumion. That's an easy one. I can do that. So let's go over here and go to movie. And let's say that as we're orbiting here or flying around our model, I want a car driving down the road there. Okay? So in build mode, I first need to go and place a car. So let's go in here and select, let's see, just a regular car is fine for me. And this one looks pretty good. So I'll click there. Oh, so I'm on a layer that's turned off. I'm going to hold R and rotate that. And then I'm going to move it. So yeah, it's right there. That's fine. Okay. All right, so then we'll go to our movie mode. And you can see the car is there. Now what I need to do is I need to add an effect. So I'm going to go to my effects, and these are going to be under scene and animation. And we'll just do a simple move. The advanced move allows you, that's better for people, in my opinion, where a car, it's hard to get a car to turn and look natural. So I just like to kind of limit the shot. So I'll hit edit. All right, so now I added that effect, I hit edit. This is my start position. In my start position, I want it to be like way down there. All right, and my end position is going to be right here. All right, and then we'll say okay. And see, now it's rolling by. And if it were to like reset, no, it'll look good. So if it resets, you just need to make your path a little bit longer, but that way we got a car driving by. And you would do the exact same thing for people. If I want to drop a person in here, and we'll go to our people, and let's see, let's take our woman who's walking and put her right there. And then we'll go to our movie mode, edit this move, because right now she's kind of hanging out in the front yard. All right, so her start position is going to be right here, and then her end position is going to be right here. And maybe actually I want to do this. Let's like have her kind of walking this way. I don't know if we're going to see her or not. So yeah, didn't quite see her. I'll put her on the other sidewalk. Let's hit edit, and let's see. Start position is going to be down there. End position is going to be right here. And we'll say okay. So now you can see we got a car driving by, we've got the woman walking down the sidewalk, and we are definitely breathing some life into the scene. So looks good. That's how you create, animate these different objects in Lumion. So, all right. I add new nodes and make curves with a new mass placement objects. Okay, so good question. So I don't know if we've ever had this many questions. This is great. So mass placement in build mode. So let's do that. Let's go to build mode, and let's say that I want to add like a bunch of flowers and shrubs along here. So first off, I want to go to my nature collection, click on mass placement. And then I would just start the mass placement, even if it has the wrong objects. All right, I'll just do that. And then I'm just going to double click on, trash the people and trash that tree. But now I want to go in here, clear my search, and let's go to our flowers collection. I'll go here. All right, now I've got one point created. You can see I can move this point. If I hold Control, I can add additional points. And that way, I can kind of like get this, mass placement going on. So we'll move these. And then as I hover on a point, it gives me corner smoothness. And I can choose to like smooth that corner out. So let's hover on this one and, smooth that corner out. And let's add some different objects in here. So the key point here is that you hold Control and keep clicking to add more points, and then hover on those points to control their smoothness. All right, so we'll add some lilies, and then jack up the number of items like that. And then you can do, change the direction, randomize the direction, randomize that spacing. So that's kind of a cool effect. And if you want it to offset, you can, so you can do that, but we'll just leave it alone and then say okay. All right, so once you've placed those objects, they are just objects in Lumion, so you can't kind of go back and modify that mass placement. But that's how I use that one. That's pretty handy. That was a big deal for planting plans, because it's never straight. I mean, very rarely do we do planting plans that are straight. So pretty nice to be able to make those on a curve. All right. Walker. When will Lumion maybe add latitude, longitude, date, and time of day? I think that's all in that sun study. So that's your latitude and longitude, and then you just do the sliders. And then Alex asking about how to build realistic buildings in Lumion using location. There is the I mean, there is the OpenStreetMaps, but those aren't necessarily realistic. I would use SketchUp to just do geo models. Check out our, for geo modeling, check out the SketchUp portion of our, let's see, this is going to be on our blog, and we did a really cool tutorial. We get a lot of positive feedback on the gastropub, and I think that one's called 3D Model Types for Designers. It was like almost 3 years ago, I think. 3D model types for designers. So this is a really solid blog post talking about geo models, render ready models, and conduct models, and kind of what the difference is between all of those. And then if you scroll to the bottom, you can see this is like photo textured versus render ready. But at the bottom of this, we have SketchUp tutorials on how to take photos and do all of the texturing and photo texturing and geo modeling. So that's been a really strong tutorial. But so if you're interested in that, watch the SketchUp portion, and then you can take that model and move it into the Lumion portion. So that's on the Lumion tutorials as well. And let's see, we're just about wrapping up here. And nice, Floyd coming through at the top of the front page. All right, sorry about that. At the top of the front page, so Lumion, let me see if I can find that one. At the top of the front page. So anyway, I won't fumble around here, but yeah, there's a, students get Lumion for free. So how easy is that? Right in front of me. So check that out. That student version is solid. All right. The correct pronunciation, is it Lumion or is it Lumion? I don't know. When I say Lumion, I'm just saying it to make sure that everyone really understands, that it's maybe the spelling or very, very clear. But I do tend to say Lumion when I'm just talking casually about it, right? Let's see. But yeah, maybe that's maybe Floyd could ask somebody on that one. It's Lumion. Okay, perfect. Let's see. All right, yeah, I got a Lumion. I'll say it that way. All right, cool. So are all of the Lumion 3D models limited? Is there any link to expand the library, people, trees? Certainly if you want to expand on your object library, we do have another blog post on that. And that one, if I go back, that one is called Expand Your Object Library. So here we talk about form fonts and where to get some 2D people. So, but as far as like making your own Lumion trees that are like blowing in the breeze and all that, that's just not really something you're going to want to do. So, but yeah, check out this blog post. There should be maybe there's a tutorial, maybe there's a bunch of links. So, well worth checking out though. Cool. All right. Well, here we are right at noon. So I do appreciate you guys coming in, and definitely appreciate all the questions. So I think I'm worn out. That was really good though. Lots of good stuff, and we should have a recording of this. I can't promise that one. We set things up a little bit different this time, but should be recording, and I'm sure we'll post that or share it or whatever. So, but make sure that you do follow us on Facebook, both Brightman Designs and Lumion. So follow us on Facebook and Twitter and all that good stuff, and sign up for the newsletters. And really, if you saw something you enjoyed today, please tell a colleague. I mean, that helps us when you share things and let everyone know what we're up to. We'd love to have them join us too. So thanks again for coming in, and I'll catch you guys in the next webinar or tutorial.